G'day guys, before we get into today's episode, I just wanted to address I had some audio issues with it. I was borrowing a mate's camera and it kept swapping from stereo to mono, and they're building a house up the road, so I've had to re-record over the top of the audio, so if it looks like it's a dodgy Japanese movie, that's why. Alright, so as you can see in front of you, my fork components have arrived. Some of this stuff was genuine from the dealership, new parts, seals and that sort of thing. The tubes were from MCS online. Lowers were a Gumtree fine. 0K takeoff, so someone's obviously going the chrome option. These will be fine for what I want to do. So let's get into putting this stuff together. As you can see here, I've already built one of them. Bit of a test run, and so that I can look like a pro on the second one, which I'm still going to fail at. So let's rip in. This right here is my special fork seal tool. It's very expensive and hard to come by. If you shoot down to your local Bunnings or hardware store, you'll be able to pick yourself up a couple of dollar seal locator. Okay, now I've been told there's writing on this face here. I hope you can see it. The writing goes outwards, so grab my special locating tool again. If you do decide to use something like this, just make sure you give the edges a bit of a clean up and then clean down the inside. The last thing you want to do is put any of the PVC gunk from it being trimmed or cut inside your new forks. And I'll put this clip in and we're done here. Okay, now the workshop manual says to use 395 mils or cc's of oil to go back in the fork. I've measured out 400 because it's in a container. Obviously you're going to have a little bit left behind, so we'll pour that in. Now they also say to measure it to check as well. So once I've let this run in for a sec, I'll get a little, probably use the end of a zip tie, measure down. The specs are all in the workshop manuals. We want to be 124 millimeters from the top with it fully compressed. And that's bang on. Alright, so for this next part, I'm going to need some assistance. You want to extend your fork tube as far as you can. Put it in a vise. Again, I don't know if this is the right way to do it, but it's the way that I did the other one. And it's the way that I found that works for me. Put the spring in. Alright, so there is a tool that you can get that you can do this in the bike. I don't have that tool. So what we'll do is the way that I found to do the other one. It's probably not the easiest way. I'm sure there's hundreds of, or at least a couple of other ways of doing it, but this is the way that I found works for me. Now I do need some help to get this one done. So as you can see here, the spring sticks out the tube a fair bit. That's the tube fully extended. We need to compress that to get the cap on. So what I'll do is I've got a bar out of the socket set with an adapter on it that fits in the top of the threaded cap. I use that to push down and get something to spin the fork tube. So we'll give it a go.
Denied. You suck, you jackass. No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
As you can see, you had to fight that a bit till we get the thread started, and then you've got to get onto it with a spanner. So we'll continue on with that. Alright, so that's mostly tight. I'll finish nipping that up once it's in the trees and I can lock onto it. So the last step for rebuilding this fork on this side is just to put the cap back on. Now I'm just putting these on temporarily so I can lay them down and move on to doing other things. Okay, so there you see how easy it is to do your forks by yourself. What I need to do next is move on to the triple tree. Now I received a second-hand one again. This was a marketplace find, or I threw up a wanted ad in one of the Harley groups. So what I need to do is, this bearing's got a little bit of grease, but I'm just going to repack it before I install it back into the bike. As you can see, it's handy to have a good one-finger technique. It's actually a lot easier to do off the steering stem here, but it's already pressed on there, so I'll just keep fingering it in. And if there's any chicks who are impressed by my single finger action here, leave a comment and I'll send you a dirty PM. And fellas, I haven't forgotten about you too. Bit of shaft action.
Gross.
Don't leave a comment though. You won't get a dirty PM. And that just leads to disappointment. Right, now that I've given it a bit of a clean up, everything's liberally coated in grease, we'll get to installing it on the bike. Alright, now that this front end's all tight, well, the bars are still a little bit loose, but that's alright for now. We can work on putting the axle, and we're going to use the original front wheel just for the time being, just to roll it around. I do understand that this is cables on the wrong side of the fork here, but as it's only going down for paint and that, it's not going to bother assembling all the trim for the front end. So I'll fix that up down the track. As I'm just going to be using this for rolling around at the moment, I'll take the spacer off of the dog bowl so that it's just one less thing to possibly get damaged while I'm rolling it round. So I'll just install the spacer for now. It's pretty big, so this is the first time since I've owned this bike that it will be sitting on the ground without a messed up front end in it. So let's get it down. Stand out yet? Pretty happy to see it at this point. With this much progress, it might not look like much, but it's been a lot of head scratching, working things out, sourcing parts, scouring Gumtree and Marketplace and that sort of thing. So to see it finally sitting on the ground with a rebuilt front end is pretty good to me. Next step is going to be get the bodywork repaired, so that the tins, get the dents out, then some paint. I've had my new decals rock up. They were lost in the post for 8 weeks, so I was pretty happy to see them. Yeah, we'll get some paint on it down at Artini's, and then hopefully start putting it back together. So not sure how long that's going to take. He's busy doing other stuff, and he looks after me pretty well, so I don't like to put him under too much time pressure. But yeah, that'll be next episode. So if you decide you want to come back and watch a little bit more of a guy who doesn't really know what he's doing, yeah, see you on the next one.